Okay, I have the man of the hour, the overall um, founding father, King James West, here with the legendary. Oh, I'm sorry, the legendary King James West, here with the legendary Tom Blumenthal. For those of you who don't know, you need to find out. And James is here to talk about the uh, the ball, the ball that all of you were in attendance for, and
Watching.
a lot of y'all have a lot to say. So all the questions are going to be answered right now. So James, welcome to your moment.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, James, let me just start with how you feeling? How you doing?
So coming from like a long week, um, I'm tired. Overall, I am happy. I do feel really good. Um, I just want some rest.
So let's just jump right on into the West Ball. First of all, James, this was one of the, oh, I won't say one of, this was the most anticipated ball of the year. You agree?
hmm I
It
definitely,
was, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I said I definitely agree.
Yes, it was talked about. People were anticipating, waiting, you name it.
hmm
And how do you feel about it? The
Um,
turnout, the venue, just how do you feel?
so I feel good because specifically because a lot of people came to me during the ball, after the ball, at the aftermath, at the second venue. So many people came and like told me how much fun they had and like how much they enjoyed the ball and like the setup and the grand march and stuff like that. So that actually pushed me over to feeling a lot better. Um, I'm a very active ball walker and I go to balls all the time. So I really don't like to see balls in without at least finishing like majority of the ball.
Right. Well,
So if
before we get into the ending early, I just wanted to get your big picture feeling about the
uh,
turnout.
okay, so overall I feel really good about everything. I love the fact that we gave out like majority of our cash categories. I love the fact that our venue was nice. I love the fact that our initial venue was like really cool. It was spacious. I love the fact that our decorations was good. Our tables were good. I'm overall happy with like what we put into the ball alone.
Yeah, I think you should be very happy, honestly. And I'm going to speak from a spectator point of view, a patron, because I actually came paid to get in. I walked into the venue and I was gagging. I was like, wow. It was top notch, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because I don't just throw compliments around.
Right.
What, so for me, let me just start with the good things that I appreciated. I loved how at the front around the stage, how you guys had the fencing around the tables.
Mhm.
Like that was dope. I don't think I've ever seen that happen at a ball before. That was one thing that I noticed right away. Um, the place was so big. I mean, I'm still seeing people in pictures, and I'm like, "Damn, you were there. They were there." People that I
That's
did not see at the actual ball,
the thing.
I'm seeing now in pictures, and I'm like, "Wow, totally missed that person." So very spacious. It was just dope. The venue was really nice. I really could appreciate that, and the decorations were cool. I got the whole school theme and everything. Um, for me, what really sold it for me was definitely the Grand March. It was by far, and I've been to a lot of balls. It was by far one of the best Grand Marches I've seen in a very, very long time. And you could tell that there was a lot of planning and production put into the Grand March.
Mhm.
So for me, it was the Grand March. I loved it. Um, One of the things that also gagged me was I don't know. I saw a flyer that was advertising like $35. So maybe I was like looking at the wrong information. When I got to the door, there was this really nice lady. She was very stern and she looked me right in my face and she said, "It'll be $40." I was like, okay. So I paid my $40, but that was a minor thing because I had $40. I don't like to pay $40 to go to a ball, but that's what the price
Yeah.
was. So those are my takeaways. as far as the categories go, I mean, obviously there weren't many categories had at the first
Mhm.
venue. I don't know what was going on doing sneaker versus sneaker. I was on the sidelines and I was watching these boys walk up in these damn Balenciaga and Louboutin sneakers, and I'm like, wait, I thought the category called for an exclusive shoe. Why am I seeing shoes that I could go to Neiman's and pick up?
Right.
So I didn't quite get that. But anyway, those are my takeaways. So now the ball didn't finish. It's an obvious no-brainer that people are going to seize on that and talk about it.
Mhm.
What happened that caused the ball to shut down?
So the number one thing that caused the ball to actually shut down was the capacity. So I was curious of like how because like this is my first major ball I've ever thrown. I was curious of how does the fire department know like when somebody's at capacity? Like how do they know that? You know what I'm saying? Because nobody keeps count of who's coming in. Apparently they know based off the amount of cars and stuff in your parking lot. So the parking lot was extremely full. There was cars parked on the grass. There was cars parked on the street. There was cars parked in the Sam's Club parking lot. They said the Sam's Club parking lot was completely full, like completely full. It was cars like parking like around the sides of the stores and everything. So there was cars everywhere. That's when they realized we was over capacity. So initially, when they told us that we was over capacity, we kind of just was like, okay, well, we can't let anybody else in. And then they hit us with like over capacity, meaning like this has to end because there's too many people in there. Um, when I
Now,
first
this
found
is
out,
what the fire department told you, or the venue people?
the venue is saying this now.
Okay.
He told us that the fire department was like coming. And the ball was still going on, but he never said like they're coming, they shutting it down. They just said they was coming. I'm assuming to observe or whatever the case may be is. I was running the ball, so I wasn't like in the back trying to figure that. I mean, in the front of the ball trying to figure any of that out. I was like staying with the ball. So Africa came and told me um, that they're giving us an hour. And then while we were sitting there talking about it, the guy from the venue texted her at that moment and said, actually, y'all have 30 minutes or there will be a $10,000 fine. So at that point, I was like, I wish I would, it was film Queen realness. So I'm pretty sure in the clip, you see me go through like this like moment of like distress. Like I was so over it. I was so,
Were you feeling at that point like you didn't know what to do or how to handle that, or you just kind of made up in your mind, okay, we gotta get out?
yeah, in my head, I was like, I honestly, in my head, I was thinking to myself, like, if we pay $10,000, do we continue to have the ball or like
So you were
$10,000?
still trying to figure out a way to keep it going at that point.
Yeah, I really wanted to finish our ball, or I really wanted to get through at least majority of our ball. Um, but at that point, I knew we was like kind of assed out. So, because we knew just the possibilities of any venue, we wanted to have a plan B to what we can do after our ball, or if anything went wrong with our venue. Not that we expect anything to go wrong, but if something went wrong, we wanted to be able to still extend the ball to finishing a little more. Which is how we already had planned. We had already met with the guy from the Aftermath venue, and we had that venue for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, either way already. So the Kiki Ball was Friday, which was held by Two West, who's in the Kiki scene. Saturday was our ball, Sunday was our Aftermath. So we already had like plans worked out for either after hours or to continue the ball. So that was our plan B.
That was very smart to plan to do it that way.
Yeah,
With knowing the possibility that Saturday could, something could happen to cause it to end early, and you had the backup plan. So I thought that was a smart move. But go ahead.
yeah, so like talking to people about like balls, we came up with that because we know that talking to people who have balls all the time, we know that sometimes like it's really out of our hands, like it's nothing we can really do, which that was the case. So we went with taking everybody over to the other venues. So surprisingly, like a lot of people, I don't even say surprisingly, but like sadly, a lot of people felt like do your after hours, forget the ball. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to finish our ball. I really wanted to finish our ball in the venue we had because I feel like me personally, I think that I don't feel the same as a ball walker. I don't feel the same about winning a ball at a venue like that. The same, I don't feel how I would have felt.
Yes, the impact is definitely
I feel like
stronger.
it changes the higher quality of the ball. So I wasn't so happy about that for that reason. I still was happy that people that wanted to walk was able to walk. Um, And we only had the venue. The second venue, the plan was like to have it from up to 5. We had it up until 5, and to finish all the categories. I knew at some point somebody would be unsatisfied with the fact that we wasn't able to finish, whether it would be the first ball, the category that we pushed over to the next venue, and if we would have pushed our category over to the to Sunday for the aftermath, then we wouldn't have finished the aftermath. So one way or another, I knew somebody would be unsatisfied. So we went with finishing the categories that were specifically sponsored by individuals who gave money from their personal pocket. That way, nobody would feel cheated. So we did that, and that was squared away. That was handled. Everybody that was sponsored, that had sponsored categories, was given out last night. If it wasn't given out on Saturday.
How many of the categories from Saturday were you able to finish from the actual ball?
I don't have a count. I can like.
But you guys were able to get through the majority of those categories, right?
The cash. Once the ball, once we knew time was a thing, we went for more sort of cash categories.
Okay. All right, cool. Got you. All right, so let me can I just like do some rapid fire questions to just like kind of go through some of the things that I'm hearing from people about what they maybe didn't like about the ball. So let me start with the obvious thing, because I mean there were a couple of incidents that happened which, you know, is out of your control. But the thing that I think a lot of people were really taken aback by was the gun incident. What happened with that? How did somebody get a gun, or did they actually have a gun? Because I never actually saw the gun. Did the girl have a gun?
So they had a gun. She did have a gun. To my knowledge, what was said about security checking was, for some reason, the VIP line wasn't moving as fast. And I forgot how this was said to me. However it was said, the VIP line wasn't moving as fast. General admission was moving fast. General admission is where they was like thoroughly checking people. And for some odd reason, VIP wasn't checking as thoroughly. So she came in through VIP, and that's how she was able to get the gun through. Like things like that. That's the third time I've seen that gun. I didn't see the gun Saturday myself. I didn't see it myself, but that's the third time I've heard of this incident with her specifically pulling a gun.
So wait, this person has pulled a gun out before at a ball?
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, I was just kind of at a loss. Like, what prompted that? I don't even understand how or why something like that would happen. I mean, do you have any idea what led up to that, or was it an
No, I
argument?
don't know. I don't want to like put any narrative on it. Only thing I know is that apparently she felt that an icon was trying her.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, okay, I'm at a loss for words. I don't even know how to respond to that, because so many things could go wrong at a crowded event like that, where a gun is introduced into a very volatile situation where alcohol is present. And I'm just, thank God nobody got hurt or something bad happened, because that could have really gone bad. Now, was this person allowed to stay after that, or were they taken out of the facility?
No, she was taken out. Well, I don't know
Okay.
if she was taken out, but I know she was gone by the time like security was even like at the stage to find her. She was gone,
Mm-hmm.
so she might have left on her own.
Okay. And so, how do you feel about that? Should a person like that be allowed into future events, or?
No, so I apologize for maybe my lack of emotion. I think that's extremely serious. I know that's extremely serious, and my problem with stuff like this, and why I don't like maybe I don't show as much emotion as people might feel like I should, is because certain things are really out of my league. I could speak about it, but no, I don't think that somebody that brought a gun into a ball should be allowed into a ball for like a good year. I feel like there is no situation I can imagine happening inside of a ball that's necessary to pull a gun out. I just think that It starts with like ballroom, and one of the things one of the problems that I have with ballroom is that I feel like as leaders, we struggle with standing together. Not even as leaders, just as ballroom participants, we struggle with staying together. I feel like we allow anything to happen because everybody's your sister, your cousin, your uncle, and all that stuff. And I feel like I can speak about it, but me speaking about it makes it seem like it's shade towards her, and it's not. It's not shade towards her, but wrong is wrong. And I don't know personally. I don't think that she would shoot somebody. But I also, prior to seeing her pull a gun out, didn't think she would pull a gun out either. So I don't know what she's capable of. But again, I don't speak about it because I don't want her to think it's shade. Let me not say that. I am speaking about it. I don't tamper at it like nonstop because I don't want her to think it's shade. It's not beef to her. It's the situation at hand. Like,
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. And I'm going to speak about it because I was present there. And so me being there means that my life was in jeopardy because of whoever that person is. I don't even know who it was. So I don't really care if she feels like it's shade, because you shouldn't be bringing a gun into a ball. So if you think it's shade that you're being talked about, then that's what it is for me. And that's coming from me. This is coming from the legendary Tom Blumenthal. I don't really care. Like, you might not intend to shoot somebody, but that doesn't mean that the gun doesn't go off accidentally and the innocent bystander gets shot because of your stupidity. So anybody who brings a gun into a ball, for me, is to be canceled. Now, that's a reason to cancel somebody, because that's just stupid. And I just think that the people who are friends or associates or ball house members with this person, those are the people who should be holding this person accountable to say, you know what, you can't be part of us anymore because this is not allowed. This is going way over the line. So we have to say, you can't participate anymore. Like, you're sidelined. That's just my take on it. But so I'm going to move on from that because I think, we've gotten all we can get out of that. But so when I heard people running and saying there's a gun, I was looking like, well, where? Because I didn't see it. And then afterward, I saw the video and I still couldn't quite tell exactly what it was because it was so far away. So the other thing that I'm hearing is, well, the Grand March was so long. Why did they have it so long when, the ball was supposed to start at 4? It started late because of the Grand March. Do you have any regrets about the Grand March happening when it happened? Do you think that it should have been shortened? Another person said, well, why didn't they do the Grand March after the first half? Are there any thoughts or regrets about the length of Grand March, where it was positioned in the ball, or anything along those lines?
No. I'm fine with how long the Grand March was. I'm fine with where I put Grand March. I wouldn't do anything different. So again, like I said, I know that I'm not gonna have everybody side with how I do things, or I'm not gonna be able to make everybody happy.
Like I said, I was here for the Grand March, so
yeah, and I expect that. I feel like I've literally never ever heard somebody say, "Oh, that Grand March was nice and sweet and short." I've never heard that before, ever in my whole life. My whole time of being in ballroom, I've never heard a person say, that Grand March wasn't long. I was fine with that. Every single Grand March we've ever seen is long to somebody. So if an hour and 15 minutes is a long time to see a Grand March that's kind of putting on a show for you, then fine. I think an hour and 15 minutes of watching a Grand March that looks like a LSS is a little different. Everybody don't see quality the same way I see it. I think an hour and 15 minutes of quality is fine with me. But
you know what it felt like, James? It felt like being at a Broadway musical.
That's what we was going for.
Yeah, that's what it gave me. By the way, who was the inspiration behind that? Like, who put all that together?
Arturo Mugler.
Really? Wow. Yeah, it's funny. It kind of has that touch to it. That the choreography, all of that. Okay, that was dope. Yeah, congrats to Arturo. What else? Is there anything else that you want to clear up about the ball? I mean, I'm sure people have been blowing you up. What are people saying to you that in the form of a complaint, or we don't have to talk about only the bad stuff. Like, you can talk about some of the good things as well.
So it's funny because people don't say anything to me bad. I don't know what that's about. But I haven't had anybody come to me and say anything bad. I've seen things on Facebook. I've heard things, but I don't feel like, I don't know, I'm not at a place where I feel like I care to like really address certain things, because I feel like some people just are those people to be that, that wants to be that guy with that girl. So seeing comments that say stuff like, oh, I didn't miss anything. I'm glad I didn't go. Seeing people say the ball was late, seeing people say our liquor was cheap. Um, I don't really feel like it's necessary to address those things because, like, if you went to our bar, you seen that we had nothing but top shelf liquor. So, like, I don't know what you consider to be cheap liquor, but I don't feel like it's necessary to address that. Um, Saying our ball was late, I don't know what it is that most people expect from a ball, but it's like you had air conditioning, you had space, you had food, you had soul food that was being sold in the kitchen area.
Wait, there was
Um,
soul food? How did I miss the soul
there was soul
food?
food. My personal mom cooked soul food. She had trimmings, she had Salisbury steak, she had macaroni and cheese, sweet potatoes, trimmings, seafood salad. Like this was being sold literally in the bar.
What?
So
And
like
I
I
missed all
don't know
that?
what it is that a person is looking for when they say ball. You missed all of that. I don't know what it is that a person is looking for when they say that ball is late, but like the quality that we put into our ball, we had dressing rooms, we had a huge room for people to actually go and get all types of resources for themselves, for health, for drug use, all different things. Like I said, food, we had top shelf liquor, we had so many different spaces for you to go and sit and congregate and do whatever it is that you wanted to do. You also had space at your tables. Tables were sectioned off, fully stocked with food, even still, but we decided to bring in hot food. We were selling fans, like I don't know what else it was that a person wanted. I don't know if they wanted like a soul food. I mean, a soul circus show somewhere on the side. I don't know what it is, but it's not for me. I know that my house and I put a lot into our ball, and I feel, regardless of what anybody says, I feel that we set a standard for any ball that's coming after us, regardless of whether the ball finishes or not. No, we didn't try to get the MTV Awards building to have our ball because we felt like we get a nice building that's nicely spaced, we can decorate it ourselves and make it look good. I'm okay with a hole in the wall. As long as I can decorate it to make it look good, that provides quality to me. We also had a plan B, which a lot of people don't do. I could have simply said, are we just not going to finish the ball? You can go and have it after hours, and I can charge people $15 to come in after hours. Instead, you came to the second venue, and if you had a wristband, you got in for free, and if you didn't, you paid $10. So what was $40 for the main ball went down to 10 at the door at the next ball if you didn't have a wristband. Nobody else, I don't know one person in ballroom who would have done the same thing. Once you left that first venue and went to the second one, that would have been more money signs for somebody else. And they would have felt like, with or without a wristband, this is how much you have to pay. And that wasn't my idea. I wanted to make sure that the people at ballroom enjoyed themselves. They had a space to go, whether it was for the ball or after hours. And they was able to get some type of quality while they was in North Carolina for West weekend. Because anytime you see West, you're going to see some sort of quality. Period. That was my motive. That was my motive. That was my mission, and that's what I feel like I accomplished for the weekend overall. We went into Sunday where we had a West Cookout. We had a big water gun fight. It was everybody was out there soaking wet. Lola, Gorgeous Gucci, DeAndre Garcon, Alyssa Garcon. We had a blast out there. We also provided the food, the drinks for that. We had like water balloons that everybody was using. We had water buckets, all different kind of things. Like I don't know what it is that that some people want, but it's just not for everybody. I'm okay with whatever it is that my house provides or the quality that we provide. It's not for everybody. Some people have different ones, and that's okay. But I know for a fact that we did our part to make sure that West Weekend was more than just about the ball.
Right. Speaking of Lola, Gorgeous Gucci, I have to say, I think the panel tried that lady because she, and this brings me to my next point
She's
about the,
amazing.
excuse me, what'd
She's
you say?
amazing. She's a gorgeous, and
Oh,
her
absolutely.
soul is so pure.
Lola was sitting when she came, first of all, for Perfect Tens, I don't know how they let her get sent home without the grand prize on that. I mean, I was just watching like, what in the world? I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe what I was watching. And then, so that is a good segue to the other point, the panel, because a lot of people have been talking about this panel. And I know, I saw you check somebody because they were questioning a chop. And you said, no, I'm not overruling my judges. We have them there for a reason. And their judging is going to stand. But some people said, well,
Mm-hmm.
these are the same judges that we see all the time that we're trying to get away from. Um, do you have any
That's
thoughts
not true.
on that?
So I have a lot of thoughts on that. So the way I chose my panel was I love the people I'm about to name. These are the normal judges. James Caan, James Icon, Rodney Balenciaga. I mean Rodney Balmain, Harold Balenciaga, Man Prodigy. Those are our normal judges. Andre and like I didn't want those people judging specifically because I wanted to get different results from the ball. I wanted to get different opinions. I left two of the more common judges was like Kelly Gorgeous Gucci and R.R. Chanel. R.R. Chanel to me, I think is one of the fairest judges I've ever seen. Kelly is also another fair judge that I see. I think what people don't like about Kelly judging is that she's one of those judges who will say what people are thinking. So if it gets down to it, Kelly will call something out, whatever. That I'm okay with that because I feel like if you send your members out and they look good, they doing whatever it is that they need to do for their category, Kelly wouldn't be a problem to them. But I feel like ballroom has gotten to a place and a comfort where anything that you do, any chop that comes your way or any criticism that you get is taken personal. It is like one of the worst things in the world to get chopped. It's no longer normal. If you get chopped, like I have seen virgins approach panels, and it's all because of how ballroom has normalized addressing a panel about a chop. Chops are normal. Chop come, they go, everybody gets them. I've had plenty of them. Like it's funny, like people in this generation actually ask me, have I ever been chopped? Like that's like a normal question. And I don't feel like when I came out, that was a normal question. Like I knew that at some point the people that I was learning from or seeing had been chopped because everybody doesn't have a good night. And no matter who you are, no matter how hot you are, no matter what people think about you as an overall person, like, or what your relationship was to people, if you were not on that night, or to them personally, if they didn't like what they seen, you were chopped. And I just want people to be okay with taking a chop. If you come out, for example, a young lady came out who ballroom loves and adores, and I do as well, but she slipped and she fell, and there was nothing wet. The floor was slippery in general. For me, during Grand March, the floor was slippery. One of my runway girls came out, she slipped. She didn't fall, but she did slide a bit. I seen a couple people slide, but the floor was not wet. She slipped and she fell, in the category for $2,000. Why are we fussing about somebody that slipped and fell to the ground for $2,000 when Roxy slipped for $1,000 at the PLCC ball and back in 2005 or whatever year that was? Like the first thing that came out their mouth was, she said, I slipped. And he said, you can't slip for $1,000. Like, when was it not normal to top a person for slipping for any category for that matter, really? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's okay. It happens. And like, her house leader said, somebody needs to clean the floor. And I looked down at it and I said, it's nothing there. Like, there's not wet. It's not nothing here. There's nothing here. The stage is just slippery. And I don't know what it is about, like, or what it is that ballroom has to do to kind of normalize being okay with chops, but I'll take a chop. If somebody chop me and I'm not always say that I'm man enough to say every time I come out in Vogue, I'm not tens worthy. But if you give me tens, I'm not going to chop myself. I don't think nobody will. But like, I'm not always tens worthy, but I always get tens. I am still mentally prepared and waiting for the day that if I come out and I'm wrong, if somebody chop me, I'm not going to stand up, walk to the panel and ask them why they chop them. I'm just like, okay, no one cares about that. Like, I'm okay with a chop, and I explain it to my kids, and I feel like people should explain it to their kids so that.
Okay, so anyway, you were talking about normalizing a chop,
Chops.
which I totally agree with, because these people do be kind of like going overboard with the chops. You know, listen, I have been chopped. I have been chopped, and chopped deservedly and chopped undeservedly. So I know both ends of the spectrum. When it's not fair, you do kind of get a little upset. But what can you do? It's just like, okay, I'll see you at the next one. You know,
is it not fair to chop flip for $2,000?
No, I think that was definitely deserved. You cannot come out.
It was ready to stop the ball. They was ready to stop the ball and like try to whole argument with a panel of
no,
like
that was totally uncalled
for.
for.
Like,
Yeah,
no, I didn't want that. I didn't choose my judges because why do we have people judging if their chops are not worthy, no matter what it is? Why do we have them? I hate it. When I judge a ball and I chop somebody, I hate for me to have to be addressed about chopping them. It's like, why am I here? If we're gonna address every chop, stop doing tens. Let's battle. Go straight to battles. I don't need a presentation. That's killing our time at this point. If you're gonna keep, I had it happen so many times. If you're gonna keep stopping the music and the ball every single time I chop somebody, why am I here? Why are we doing tens? Why don't we go straight to battles? Those are my 3 questions every time. I don't like that. I feel like I'm qualified. I may not be able to walk your category, but if I'm watching it and I know what I'm judging and my opinion fucking matters as a judge, why am I being questioned about a child? Have your leader come and question me afterwards. Hell, have them message me on Facebook. I don't care. While I'm right there, I can explain it to them. If it's, nothing going on, I can explain it to them. I don't feel like I should be really sitting and explaining why I chopped somebody in Chicago back in May. Somebody who I think is sexy as hell, is a woman. She's sexy as hell. She was walking sex siren, but the category said, bring it covered or bring it fully clothed. And her way of bringing it fully clothed was in like a maid outfit. And to me, that was a normal sex siren effect. That was not fully clothed to me. So I chopped her. And when I tell you, like, I had people asking from down that side of the panel. I had people walking up the stage, and it wasn't like in an aggressive way, but I'm like, y'all, they say bring it in ballroom worthy effect. That's what somebody can wear. Why am I being questioned about like a sex siren being half naked in a category to say come clothed? I don't understand that. She has on clothes, and I'm like, she has on a bra and panties and a fucking apron, and y'all calling this fully clothed? Like, okay, if nobody sees what I'm seeing, I guess give her 10s. Why the fuck are we doing this 10s thing then though? Like, let's just go straight to battle. She turned around and she won the category because she was sexy, but I don't think she brought the category right. I just didn't want that at my ball.
We left off where you were talking about the chops and so forth, but you stand by your judges panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and my leaders together, we handpicked our judges for a specific way for a specific reason. We really chose like people who are not problematic judges, people who do not use the panel as a way to get back at the younger generation for the other reasons that has nothing to do with ballroom. Like, we literally did not put certain people on our panel for a specific reason. I just, more than anything, I feel like commentators and judges control the ball. That's really how I feel. And I wanted to make sure that you could not drink if you was on the panel. If you were intoxicated and I noticed it, I was going to have you removed. My judges, I didn't have that issue. I didn't have to address my judges about not one thing the entire night.
Now, I did hear about the whole no alcohol thing, which I think was brilliant, by the way. This is the first time I've ever been to a ball where the panel was banned from drinking. Whose idea was that?
That was my idea.
Okay. Well, I'll have to congratulate you on that one because I thought that helped eliminate a lot of drama on the panel, in my opinion. And at first, when I heard that, I didn't
Absolutely.
think. Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
No, it was true. It was absolutely true.
No, I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah, it was true. I didn't want my judges panel intoxicated. I didn't want them focusing on this drink is gone. Can you go get me I didn't want that. I wanted them to focus on the ball. I wanted them to be fully observant and knowing what was going on so that we wouldn't have like those belligerent minds speaking, saying certain things they shouldn't say to offend like participants and stuff. Like, I don't feel like that's what judging is for. Like, a judge is there specifically to judge. You're not there to make nobody feel less. You're supposed to just simply sit there and judge. And I feel like in ballroom, when judges drink, it make them say and do things that they usually wouldn't do if they were sober. So to prevent that, let's sit up here sober and let's focus on the participants and what's going on in the ball. And like I said, I didn't have any issues with my judges all night, not one. I didn't literally have to go to my panel and say a word to them about how they were judging.
So we talked about the judges panel. We talked about the gun. We talked about the ball in there early and what led up to the ball in there early. We talked about how you guys gave away all the cash at the part 2. You also did the aftermath. You then had your field day event.
We didn't give away all the cash. We literally didn't get to like 4 cash categories.
Okay. But most of it you gave away.
Yeah, we definitely gave away most of it. I went from like the most cash down. So like the 2 $1,500 categories was both given away. Like 3 out of the 4 of the thousands was given away. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if looking back now, because we know hindsight is 20/20, right? Mm-hmm. And you always can kind of sit back after an event of this magnitude and think about things that you could have done differently. Have you thought about anything that you would have changed now that you've had a chance to kind of debrief and look back over everything?
Um, so I was trying to think like because me knowing how I feel about balls ending and stuff like that, I tried to think about like what it was that I could have possibly done differently to help the ball finish or something like that. And honestly, I do genuinely feel like it's out of people's control sometimes. The only thing I was able to think of, and I was like, it's gonna have to get to a point where you have to say, okay, this ball, let's just say the next House of West ball is once again one of the most highly anticipated balls in ballroom for the year. Um, the way that we have to get through this ball is you have to send out your best three. I feel like that's the only way. You can't if every house like Harold Balenciaga posted a picture with sex artists, it was like 9 of them. And like if every house is doing that, like sending people out like that and debuting members and stuff like that, then we're always gonna have that issue of, and it's not really an issue because it's participation, but we're always gonna end up with this ball didn't finish because, and in my case, our ball didn't finish not only because of the capacity, but it wasn't even moving as fast as it probably could have or should have moved just because it was participation there. And that's like, at that point, is that a bad thing? You can't read the ball because the participation is high, so everybody getting their tens is kind of coming a little slow, you know?
One of the things that I did think about, I wanted to ask about is I saw on your flyers you were advertising Jack being there as one of the commentators. What happened with that? Is there any update on that?
Jack had he sent me a long message the day of, and something concerning work happened that same day, so he wasn't able to make it.
Okay, so he was planning to be there, but a work situation came up.
Yeah, same day.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, are there any last thoughts? Because I always feel like there's so much to cover with you, James. But usually, with the last time I interviewed you, I thought of like 10 things that I should have asked after we got done talking. You know what I mean? But you don't know what you don't know. So, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you feel like you want to address or talk about while we have this opportunity? Because
Um,
this is your first interview on the ball, post ball,
yeah,
right?
I probably know that.
Yeah, so this is your opportunity to kind of, clear the air or set some things straight or clear up any misconception that might exist among people. And of course, there are people that you just never will be able to satisfy. But,
Mhm.
this is your opportunity to, say whatever it is that you want to say in regards to the West Ball, the highly anticipated and highly attended West Ball.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll say this. I don't really have like a lot to say. I feel like that I haven't already said. But I know for a fact that we provided quality. And even people who hate to like see us win, I feel like they know. I feel like if you
Do people hate to see the West win?
Mhm. It's like, what's funny is like we've had this conversation, like I've had this conversation with a
I
specific
know.
leader about like because the competition be so thick a lot of times that people don't know how to leave it there without making it personal. It becomes personal to the point where people don't even like us or like some of us sometimes. And I feel like at some point people will learn how to like differentiate the two. But until then, I'm always gonna speak on it and I'm always gonna talk about it. I'm always gonna say how I feel about it. I think it's whack that because somebody is your competition that you feel like you have to like eventually dislike them. Competition is just that. And as long as you're in ballroom, you're gonna always have that. Um, Whatever. Needless to say, um, we provided quality, and whether you was there or not, whether you felt like you missed something or not, you was watching. I don't think there is no person at all who is a part of ballroom who, like, literally, if you wasn't at work, nobody sat in the house and watched TV knowing that the ball was happening. You was on Facebook, you was looking for lives. All of that is support to me. So
Mm.
you could say what you want to say. You could talk about how you want to talk about it. If the ball was that bad and you was there, you could have left. You didn't. Because if you would have left, we probably wouldn't have been in capacity. So the masses of everybody, people that was there and people that wasn't there, was satisfied. They was entertained, which is why they stayed, which is why they watched. I don't really feel like it's necessary to like comment on, like I said before, it's not necessary to comment on a lot of things that were said because like it's kind of clear. Like I ever heard somebody say like the West was going to be on North Carolina news because we were still not a Walmart. I'm like, Y'all just saying anything really, like
Y'all stole the
people.
decorations.
Yeah, like apparently, I guess we stole decorations or food from. I don't know what it was, but I'm like, if the West was that, we was trending like that, like for us to have flyers and event pages all over the place, like why is it nobody could find us? Yeah, it's like when you say stuff, kind of make it make sense. I didn't really care about that. I feel like I was so happy that a lot of people told me they enjoyed themselves. I was happy that you told me you enjoy yourself. I know just from history of hearing videos I've seen and talking to you personally that you are not a liar, you're not fake, you're not going to fabricate anything, and I haven't heard a complaint from you at all.
Well, I
Um,
would I would tell you if I would definitely tell you.
yeah, I'm sure, and I love that, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's not thinking I'm
And
not.
and even though the ball didn't finish, I still enjoyed myself because first of all, I wasn't there to walk the ball. So I mean, just the atmosphere and the ambiance was enough for me, you know. So I was
Yeah, it's
good.
funny. Even I've been in really big balls, and even the energy in there wasn't good. And I felt like at our ball, the energy was even good. Like if it had made it through a lot of categories, like we would have got the best of the best like energies because the participation was great and everything. And like it might have something to do with the fact that we had the houses that was in the front that was there. Like the energy was nice. So like I'm overall really, really happy with my ball. I'm happy with the ball. I'm happy with the people that came. I'm really more so happy that people that were there enjoyed themselves. That's all that really
Yeah.
matters to me.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again. And speaking of houses, is there any one or two houses that stand out for you that really like brought it like
Oh
you
my God.
expected?
So the Gorgeous Gucci's brought it for me. The Lanvins brought it for me. The Muglers brought it for me. Like those three houses stood out a lot to me. They had their uniforms, they had ID cards, they had school buses. Like you don't see people doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that spoke volumes to me. That right there is what made the quality of the ball even more than what it was before it started. The magnitude of like energy that we brought out of those people in those houses, though, that's like that's motivation to ballroom. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like we really set a standard. I always feel like we set standards, and I don't have a problem with like people being influenced. It's just the lack of homage that I really don't like.
Mm.
I just feel like once again the House of West has done it, and we're gonna always do it, and we're gonna do it to our out. I'm also throw this out there. We're gonna always do what we want to do because I don't like ballroom um, with this unwritten book of rules that they have of how things should go. I don't know if nobody noticed. I haven't heard it yet. That's so funny. We didn't do a dress code for Grand March. Like whether you was in or not in Grand March, we didn't do a dress code. We didn't have a color scheme. We wore what we wanted to wear. We spend most of the year going to balls and dress codes. So I wanted to break that curse of feeling like you have to stress yourself to be in this gown, this tight ass gown with a girdle on, with your hair tied up for the rest of the whole early part of the day. Like that's not what this is about. This is ballroom. This is fun. This is our imaginary world. So we decide we want to come as aliens. We can make that happen. I'm not forcing people in my house to treat ballroom like it's a job because it's not. Ballroom is fun to us. Ballroom is something we enjoy, and ballroom has made us a family. So we took that and we implement that outside of ballroom as well. And I really wanted to make sure that in my Grand March and our first Grand March, we can look back and say, like, everybody else is like stressing because they can't get this big gown hair that this big gown and this big hair that they wanted for for their Grand March. And I just feel like we so used to seeing girls come out in makeup and all this different stuff, and my girls came out and they was comfortable. They had on tennis shoes. Some of them had on had their hair up in ponytails, and they was comfortable like that. And that's all that really mattered. They enjoyed themselves. They enjoyed themselves in Grand March. They was comfortable. Their feet wasn't hurting. Like for myself, I didn't have to stress myself about, oh, getting this oh so expensive high shoe that I want because Grand March, I just got to be the best looking overall father in the world. It's not about that. It's really not. But this is my moment to say, I did what I needed to do. Y'all here to help me celebrate my house and what we've done. And I feel like we've done everything that we could have done for Grand March. I guess we should have done for Grand March. We've been doing it all year. We've been bringing it in gowns and nice tennis shoes and these dress shoes that have us sliding across the stage. And, we've done that. We came to our Grand March. I came out of Grand March in dance shoes, $40 dance shoes. And I was so comfortable with it. I was fine with it, and I would not change it for nobody. I'm not here to follow ballroom's rules of what they think it's supposed to be like. Ballroom is supposed to be fun. Ballroom was a underground world that was put together because the straight society was not letting us be us. And I'm going to treat it that way.
Yeah. Well, again, congrats. And I don't know what else can be said. I think You know, there was a moment where I saw um, Tony come up on the stage and spoke to you, and he turned around and he presented the ball to you. And cause I saw that moment and I caught that. Like, was that the moment when you realized, like, behold, you know, look
Yeah,
at all of
like,
this.
and he told me like, he's like, this, you brought these people here. Like, look at this. He was like, do you see your ball? Like, and I was like, I had to really stop and look, and I was like, I'm gagging. After he said that, it happened a couple times afterwards. I had to stop and like look. I just like looked around, like, and I was like, bitch, this ball, it's a lot of people in here. Like you said, like there was people there that you didn't even know was there. Like there was people there that I didn't know was there. And I'm like looking like this place
I,
is packed every single row. It's like
yeah,
now that there's not an empty space nowhere in here.
because I was down front, like I had kind of, you know, snuck my way into the Balmain section. Shout out to Rodney for letting me stay. But I stopped and turned around and looked, and I was like, wow. I was trying to remember the last ball I went to where it was that many people. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Mugler ball. But
Oh,
I think your facility was bigger than that one. But that's the last ball I've been to recently where it was that many people
mm.
at the ball. And so I looked up at your venue and I was like, wow. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was actually in shock. I didn't expect that. So you had that moment too.
That number. Yeah, I definitely had that moment. I wish I knew the exact number of people that was in there. I'm so not good at guessing numbers, so like just looking, I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Well, we don't want you to put that out over this interview because then you might be getting a phone call from, you know, the IRS or somebody. So we don't want to talk about that publicly. But James, I do want to say congratulations to you and the House of West again. Thank you guys for you know, putting on a really spectacular event, and I was so glad that I had an opportunity to be there to see it, you know, firsthand. And you know, I'm sorry that it didn't finish, but you know, it is what it is. You know, it happens the way it's supposed to happen for a reason, I think. And you know, you can control what you can control, and stuff that you can't control, you just kind of gotta roll with it, you know.
Sure.
So that's it. I think that's the interview.